you don't need me to explain the left back, right back situation. That's straightforward. We need a left back. If anything, today probably reinforced the belief with many of us that we need that left back. And on right back, it's going to be somebody to compete with Conor Bradley. So they're straightforward. But the centre back positions are the one that are very interesting, because after the game today, I had a phone call with somebody who is very well connected in football, and I have to say, I got no assurances about Kwanza's future. None. So I think we could see a window where we lose Konate and Kwanza. But the reason I wanted to bring the centre-back situation up, and in particular Konate, is what do you think is going to happen? Because we know he's got a year to go. We also know that, at least according to reports, the asking price for him is 200 grand a week to stay. And I think I speak for most people when I say he's not a 200 grand a week centre-back, so I think we might see him sold. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying that's a definite. I'm not. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see him and Kwanza gone in this window. Just the vibe I'm getting is that Kwanza is in trouble, basically. The situation that I've been told is that Kwanza hasn't convinced, and Konate is going to come down to whether they can get the extension done. But something's going to have to give in that conversation soon enough, because, we can't let this go much past the summer. So if they can't get a deal agreed with Konate soon, I think Konate gets sold this summer. Again, not saying this is the ideal scenario that everybody would want, but it is a scenario that at least the club have to plan for. Lakers LFC said we need 2 left backs, a right back and a centre back. I don't think you're going to see 2 left backs. I think you will see one. I think it'll probably be a replacement for Costas. And actually, on Costas today, am I the only one who felt like he was done a little bit dirty being taken off? I didn't see Costas do nothing wrong. I thought we regressed, actually, when Robbo came on. And I wouldn't be Costas' biggest fan, but I didn't really see him making too many errors today. I thought he should have been left on the pitch, personally. Stevie Boy said the transfer window will be sell to buy. There's no way FSG are putting any money for this window. Maybe I'm wrong. Look, they have to put some money in, Stevie Boy. They have to. They can't get away with ghosting through. But I wonder how much. Because let's talk again in the centre-back role. If we sold Kwanza, and if we sold Konate or Gomez, if we sold any 2 centre-backs, I think you're going to see Huijsen brought in, definitely, or at least a big play made for him. And then the second one will be an interesting one, because I don't know if the club had necessarily planned to look at 2 centre-backs, but I think it's at least reasonable to assume that Gomez will have to be convinced of more game time. Kwanza is up in the air, and Konate will purely just come down to an extension or not. No extension, you have to sell. Extension, happy days. So it looked like Huijsen is that guy. Now I'm going to read you out what David Ornstein said, because that's kind of what we used for tonight's stream title and how we wanted to kick it off. So this is a little excerpt of what he had to say. It's going to be a really busy summer with recruitment. They're in the mix for Dean Huijsen. So confirmation there from David Ornstein that we're in the mix for him. We've also heard that those conversations about Dean Huijsen had already started. Milos Kerkez and perhaps a striker with Darwin Núñez expected to leave. The uncertainty around Ibrahima Konate, who was going into the last 12 months of his contract with no breakthrough on those terms. What's going to happen with Kwanza, Elliott, Joe Gomez and even Luis Diaz, who is approaching the final 2 years of his contract. So there's a lot to sort out. And he's not wrong. Like, every name on that list with regards to potential outgoing, he's not wrong. I think he probably even missed Diogo Jota's name, because, ladies and gentlemen, I'd be a seller of Diogo Jota this summer. I would. I kind of lost a bit of patience, to be honest with you. You know, he's been given 4 starts in a row now. 1 goal in those 4 starts, and even after that goal, just not much else. Today I thought he was shocking. And again, we've seen Chiesa not giving a sniff. So Chiesa looks like surely he's going to be shown the exit door, and I've got some news on where that might be for the late night video later on. But in defence, it's a tough one. Like, Verge is staying, thank goodness, that's brilliant. But after that, I don't think there's a single bit of certainty around any other centre-back at the club. which is a weird feeling, because if Wirtz hadn't signed, then we really have a worry about all of them. It's baffling. Nobody seems to know what's happening, but nobody's convinced that the manager's convinced by Kwanzaa. And Konate's contract situation, as David Ornstein said, has had zero breakthrough. Plus Kelleher going as well. Yep, Kelleher will be going. Georgi Marmadashvili is apparently meant to be coming in, although there's now talk that Valencia would like to keep him on loan for another season. I can't see Liverpool playing that game though. So if Konate was to extend, how many years would it be? Well, you would imagine it would be a 4-year minimum extension. He's got 1 to go, so you'd probably throw 3 more on top of that. And what would that bring him through to then? Next year, he will be 27, so up to 30. So I just don't know what's happening. I really, really do not know what's happening with Ibrahima Konate in his future. I haven't got a clue. But I don't know if anybody does. You know, you wonder, are the club really trying to keep him? Genuinely. There's some players I just feel like the club aren't that fussed if they go. And Konate, weirdly, I think is one of them. Do you think we need Huijsen? 100% yes, Cormac Cronin. And I go a bit further. I think we'll get him. I do. And I think the plan is to go after Huijsen. Like, every journalist seems to be on the same page with, no matter what happens around our centre-backs, so even if none were to be sold, there was always the plan to go out and bring one in. So I think, yes, at minimum, we'll see one. Now, the only thing about Huijsen is, you know, if he doesn't want to come, that's a different conversation. But we know that those talks have started. And we know that he's got a £50 million release clause. And we know that reports in Spain are suggesting Madrid don't want to pay that. So, you know, hopefully Liverpool can move in and get this done, because he does feel like the right one. Hatto said CH6059. Yep, Hatto's name's in the mix as well. So look, I asked this question the other day, and I don't know how many of you guys were in the stream or not, but basically, would you swap Konate and Kwanzaa for Hatto and Huijsen? There's a quick one for you. Now look, I know people are probably going to say that they'd sell Joe Gomez ahead of the others, and I totally understand that. But if Joe's happy to stay, I'd also be happy to keep Joe, because he's so versatile, he's so experienced. And if we were to bring in, let's say, Hatto, and we were to bring in Huijsen, then you're talking about 2 young centre-backs. Well, so the experience of Virgil and the experience of Joe, I think, will be vital at that point. And then you still have young Nello making his way through as well. So some people are saying no thanks, but I think some people aren't living in the reality of this situation. Now, I'm not saying you can't disagree with me, but what I'm saying is everyone's initial thought is to not sell Konate. And that's normal and understandable. But the situation could force our hand. And Kwanzaa, I genuinely don't know if he's good enough or not. And I don't think I'm alone in that. So I think the situation for both of them is genuinely up in the air. Do you think there's a chance of getting Kirkes and Huijsen? Yes, George. I think there's a very good chance. Honestly, I do. I think there's a really good chance of those two coming to Liverpool. And as each day goes by, I'm becoming more and more confident in it. But again, I don't want to tell anybody they're done deals. They aren't. But yeah, I would agree, man. I feel confident that they're both going to come.